Hello and welcome to San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans.
By the fans.
I'm here today with my co-host Justin Smead. I'm also with Steve-O over here. We're going to do a little fantasy segment, and Steve-O's going to give us some insight because obviously me and Justin don't know what we're doing as far as fantasy goes.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm Josh Taylor. We want your voice to be heard. 619-387-3452. We'd love for your calls into the show, talking Chargers, Padres, Aztecs. Especially Aztecs. We get Charger calls all day long. We want some Aztec love. So if you're an Aztec fan and you're watching it on the show, we'd love to hear from you. And jump right into it, guys. Chargers, man, again, fail to win a game, losing 20-13 to the Bengals. I'll be honest, I didn't catch a whole lot of it, obviously, because we're blacked out because we can't sell out of the stadium anymore, and I don't blame you fans for not buying tickets.
I don't either.
Again, we play a close game. We have the lead in the fourth quarter, and same old story. We just give it away.
Josh, are you surprised?
No, not at all. I mean, offense doesn't put up any points. I mean, we're relying on the defense to be perfect, and the other defense even getting worn out. I mean, what's your take on it?
Bad teams find a way to lose.
Yes.
Good teams win. Bad teams lose. Monday night game. You guys see Eli Manning's 2-minute drill.
Right.
He can march down the field with 55 seconds and get him in a position, at least get 3 points on
at
the
least
board.
to win, or get him in a position to win.
We just don't have those players.
Right. And here we are again, same old story, another week in a row here where we have a lead. We think we can win a game. Nothing's really killed you or shot you in the foot to that point. Phillip Rivers played pretty well.
Didn't turn the ball over up to that point.
Yeah, by standards of the last couple of years, he played pretty well on Sunday. But like you said, bad teams find a way to lose, and we did it again. And Phillip throws a ball that we kind of shake our head at and go, okay, well, that's the Chargers season this year, and we got 4 more games to maybe try to win, or it's just going to be tough here with all these mounting injuries.
Well, I think the thing that frustrates me the most and probably frustrates everybody as fans is the fact that we continue to lose these games in the fourth quarter.
Right.
We talked to at CT2SD. Thank you for the tickets, by the way, for
thanks,
the Aztec game.
Appreciate that.
But we were talking to him yesterday, and we may not be a great team, but we could have won every single game this year, put aside the Atlanta game.
Right.
We lost in the second half or way late in the fourth quarter.
Right.
We could easily be, 9-2.
You could easily have a nice setup and not leading, maybe tied for the division lead. I mean, but that has to go. Those things had to come into place. I mean, we haven't played football like we should have. I mean, but yes, we've had the opportunity in every single ball game to win a game
for the side of Atlanta,
except Atlanta exception in the New Orleans game. Obviously, Baltimore, Cincinnati. Who else? The Browns. I mean, come on, man. It's like you lose those type of games, and it mounts, and your head hangs a little lower the next week. The head hangs a little lower, and it just continued, and it snowballed on us.
At what point did the Chargers turn from being that team that was so reliable in the third and fourth quarter? That was
turnovers.
That was our MO.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
The
talking
second half,
2008,
adjustments.
2009.
Yeah, those comebacks.
We start those games off slow.
Right.
We're down by a couple touchdowns.
And it would be comeback kid.
They were lights out third, fourth quarter.
That has everything to do with coaching.
I
think so, too.
Everything to do with coaching. And I think, obviously, as we know, injuries are continuing to mount on the offensive line. We lost 3 more linemen this weekend.
I don't even know if that's a bad thing.
Well, it can't be any worse.
It can't be any worse.
It can't be any worse. But so we lose Clary, Vasquez, and Harris, who's Gaithers' replacement.
Right.
Now they've added Colin, Baxter,
and Steve Schilling, former players from last year.
Which they don't know he's a tackle guard. They're just going to throw him in there and hopefully he sticks. And Rex hadnot, obviously, he's been around.
As in meaning had not started a game for us. I mean, yes, it's a makeover on this line, dude. And it's getting comical now to me. As a Charger fan, you don't want to laugh at your own situation. But I can't help but just look at this team and shrug my shoulders and go, man, what a letdown of a football season. The underachieving by Phillip Rivers, the mounting injuries like you just touched on. a lot of things have just gone wrong on the offensive side of the ball. I've been impressed with the defense. To me, they've kept them in every ball game. That's not the biggest weakness to me, or glaring weakness for me.
The one benefit too, not to cut you off here, is as well as our defense is played, we do have the pieces in place, and if our offense does start to do better, not saying this season, but in next year, we're gonna make improvements. We have to make improvements on the offensive line, so our offense gets back to what they were doing. Our defense isn't on the field as much, so they're not getting worn out,
tired. Yeah,
and I don't see them not still making improvements in the secondary as well. So our defense is only going to get better next year, in my opinion.
Definitely.
I mean, what do you think, Steve?
I agree. I just kind of question how many resources we've exhausted on some of the off-season moves last year.
Yeah.
I mean, how much money did we spend on going out and getting a guy like a Robert Meacham who's produced nothing, a guy like Eddie Royal who's produced nothing?
Combined total of money we've spent, and Jared Gaithers too.
Well, I think you said it was something like $30-40 million we spent between those three guys, and we produced 2 touchdowns and like 5 starts.
And it's like, you got a phone call coming in here. Welcome to San Diego Sports Junkies, caller. Give him a second here.
Yeah, he's on. He's calling with his frustration with the Chargers. Go ahead and welcome him.
Okay, you're on San Diego Sports Junkies. Go ahead, bud.
What's up, boys? How's it going?
How we doing?
Pretty good. Who do we got on the phone today?
I'm Eric from Point Loma, Ocean Beach area.
What's going on, Eric?
Nice. OB.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Definitely.
So what's your concerns, man? What's your frustration? You can vent, man. We're here to therapy session.
Well, I'm looking at hopefully rebuilding from the top to bottom. I mean, AJ and Norv obviously have to go. That's our aim for our frustration lately. I talked to a lot of fans. I've been to like 5 games this year.
Right.
I love going, period, just seeing the football game go on. I love it. But,
yeah,
I just think our O-line has to get drafted. Like, guards and tackles have to be drafted right away next year.
Right. You think early picks on O-line would be the overhaul on this team? I mean, you think that would fix it right away?
I mean, that's not going to fix it right away. You got to drafting and developing is key. I mean, we've been good at it sometimes, and I mean, we look at Buster Davis in English, and you're like, what the hell happened? But it's all good. I mean, it's a hit or miss in the first round. I mean, I like that we got Corey Legit and Melvin Ingham are difference makers. I'm happy with those guys. For sure.
Yeah, they're only going to get better, and those guys haven't been bust yet. And then Legit has played well better than last year, his sophomore campaign this season. I've been thoroughly impressed. But I agree with you, Eric. I think we have to go out and spend some money on some offensive big corn-fed boys in this year's draft. So, and thanks for the call too, by the way.
Yeah, man, I follow Bolt Father on Twitter, so I'm giving a little Bolt shout out to him for sure.
Oh, nice, right on, Booga P. Booga P, brother.
Nice, dude.
So I got a quick question here for you, Eric. Okay. Obviously we need to make some picks in the first couple rounds of the draft, but we need some veteran help as well. Is there anybody you can think of off the top of your head that the Chargers can go for in free agency?
I think Jake Long, the tackle for Miami, would be just like our biggest upgrade we can get.
Good call.
I mean, Rivers, you can see after like 1, 2, 3 count for Rivers, he's like jumping and ready to throw the ball away. That guy is cage terrified back there.
Real antsy this season.
Absolutely. Jake Long's going to be very expensive, but, man, that left tackle position was so big for us.
If you could have spent your money on Jake Long this year from the money you spent on Meacham, Royal, and Gaither that's produced absolutely crap, man, we could have 2 solid tackles back there protecting Phillip.
Well, what's $15 million when you got a $100 million quarterback?
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to touch on. Like, it seems like AJ hasn't replenished the stock here in San Diego. He's the guy that's, like we've said, buying the groceries. And how are you you're not replacing the guys that you need to replace. You're trying to replace a Dealman, a McNeil. These are key guys on your line. This is why they were so dominant for so many years. You can't just stick anybody in there. You know that.
I mean, Dealman was a force, man. I mean, it's sad to see him go, and San Diego just loved that guy. And it hurt to see him get so hurt like that. He's a warrior, and McNeil was good. They both got hurt. They both, put on a line, and it's kind of sucks to see that like 3 or 4 year span of the linemen, and that's it for him. Really.
I know. It's real sad, man.
It's a rough sport.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Eric, for the phone call tonight, dude. We real appreciate the support from you, and call in next week. Tuesday at 7, same time, bro.
Right on. We'd love to hear from you, Eric. I appreciate it.
Go Bolts, brother.
Go Bolts.
All right, Bolt up.
Go Bolts.
Go Bolts.
So, I mean, and we kind of touched on that in the past with Jake Long. You know, I think it's worth investing that money
into that type of player.
Because let's be honest, like you said, you know, you draft somebody in the first and second round, the O-line, they're still a college player. They haven't played at the pro level.
Right.
You know, in college, you're one of, 5 guys on that team that might make it to the pros where,
Another phone call.
We got Booga P on. Hold on, let me put him in here.
What's up, Booga
All right,
P?
Booga's on.
Welcome to Sports Junkies, bro.
What's up, guys? How we doing?
Good, Booga. What's going on, buddy?
Well, I was going to have Booga P called in, but this is the Native American, the long-winded one.
Nice.
I was listening to you fellas, you punks.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't say it.
How we doing tonight?
Don't beat me up.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, guys. What are we talking about?
Okay, so what Eric, which thank you for pubbing us on Twitter. We appreciate it.
Thanks,
we just had Eric call in, and we're talking O-line. And the fact that, it's a mess. We've lost Clary, Vasquez, Harris. We added Colin, Baxter, Steve Schilling, and Rex Hadnot. But as far as in the offseason, I mean, we got a $100 million quarterback. Obviously we're going to draft in the first and second round offensive line. At least we should. That should be our priority. But we need to add somebody veteran-wise like a Jake Long. Because not only for his talent, but we need some veteran because these guys coming in the first and second round haven't played at the NFL level before, and
it's
going to take
develop.
they're going to have growing pains. Look at Harris. I mean, Harris could eventually be a stud, but he's going to have growing pains.
Yeah, and he has.
Right.
He has.
Well, yeah, and props to Eric for the shout-out. That's cool. To be honest, I'm not sure who he is on Twitter, but I really appreciate him following.
Nice.
Jake Long, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, I believe. He's fallen off a little bit. He's had a couple rough years. He just recently was put on IR with that torn tricep.
Right.
His cap number is $15.3 million for next year if Miami's going to try to franchise him. I don't see them doing that. They brought in Jonathan Martin from Stanford. I think Eric hit it right on the head. I think he'd be a great addition for the Chargers, and like you guys touched on, a veteran presence, which is something we need.
Right. You definitely need veteran leadership on the O-line, especially for Phillip Rivers. I mean, you got a $100 million quarterback. That has to be first and foremost a priority this offseason. What do you think, Steve? What do you think our priority this offseason has to be other than O-line? After maybe the 2 first picks being a top O-line type of players, who do you see us going after?
Backup quarterback.
Need a backup quarterback? You think to push Rivers or?
Well, I mean, how many years have we, been playing Rivers right now?
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
He was a backup to Rivers. I mean, to Breeze. Breeze is killing it.
Right.
So at some point we got someone a little more reliable than Charlie Whitehurst.
Yeah, you're definitely right.
Step in for Rivers.
Right.
I mean, look at Mark Sanchez got benched for McElroy on Sunday. McElroy goes in, scores the only touchdown for the Jets.
Yeah. And he's starting this week.
Is McElroy going to be the starter? Is he better than Mark Sanchez? Maybe not, but is the guy produced a win for the Jets?
Right.
Yeah. So Rivers isn't producing any wins for the Chargers whatsoever. He's not clutch.
Right.
He ain't clutch. He used to be clutch. He's not that guy anymore. I don't know what's wrong with his game, but I figured a third or fourth round, someone that has pretty good prospect.
Right.
I mean,
you're just saying somebody back there maybe push Phillip a little harder that maybe they're high on, maybe the higher college quarterback.
Yeah.
Get him in here, get some
Absolutely.
competition flowing.
Absolutely.
Because there's no competition with Charlie Whitehurst.
Yeah. None
I
whatsoever,
agree. I think he needs a push in the ass because that's for first and foremost.
Again, I'm not talking early round pick, guys. Talking late round pick.
Yeah, fourth round.
Someone just to light a fire under Phil.
Or a veteran, or a strong veteran coming in here.
Really, who's going to be available?
Booga, who in the draft you think maybe third, fourth, maybe even fifth round? I mean, maybe we pull a Tom Brady out of the draft. Who out there do you think we could sit a couple years, maybe has a couple years that he needs to get his stuff together to be the future of the Chargers? Anybody in mind that's coming in the draft?
Well, I couldn't exactly hear who was saying it, but I'm more of the opinion that I'd prefer for next year anyway, because of the money we have tied up in Rivers and the fact that the Chargers called me to play O-line for this week, but I can't make it. I would prefer we bring in a strong veteran to come in, and I don't even necessarily mean in hopes to push Phillip Rivers, but more if we don't make the necessary adjustments on the O-line, Phillip Rivers is going to end up getting hurt. It's that simple.
So what you're saying is you want to see Tebow?
No, don't even get me started.
Not here, bro.
We won't have any blackouts.
You're probably right.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Well, he could do a sermon before the game.
And after.
Well, and hope and say a prayer. Say a prayer in case they do keep guys like Gaithers and Clary and Tyrone Green out there. So
amen.
Yeah, I'm not real hyped about any of the quarterbacks that are coming out this year. I know we've talked about a lot of the big names that some people are excited about. I just not my cup of tea, so to speak.
Right.
Definitely have to upgrade the O-line again, the Jake Long thing. But as far as the draft, I want to throw a name out there: Chance Warmack of Alabama.
Okay.
Dude is a beast. He plays guard. Okay, so he'd take over for Green. Yeah, we definitely need a left guard. I love Vasquez. I don't know why we haven't notched him and Donald Butler up yet, but AJ's just playing games possibly with one foot out the door. I'm not sure, but Chance Warmack can do a lot of the things that this team has been doing in the past from the guard position, as far as running the power that we've talked about and being able to pull
the pulling
beast
guard
up front. So, I mean, that's a name that I'd like to see brought in. You could even possibly trade down, and we're going to have a top 10 pick at this point, 12th at the latest, I guess. So.
Right. Well, I mean, if it stays pat right here, I'm not too upset about where we're at right now. I mean, we're at the number 6 pick in the draft or something.
I need to apologize to Justin. When this all went down, I really didn't see us continuing to falter week in and week out, and I was still very confident that we were going to put a run together like we always have, and it's just not going to happen. They're going to be 7-9. I don't think they're going to be 6-10. I think we pull one win out somewhere.
6-10.
And I hope it's against the Raiders if we have to choose one.
We'd have to pull 2 wins out if they're going to be.
I was going to say, we've got 4 wins, fellas, so we're going to it's very possible that we could win 2 or 3
wins,
but
that's terrible.
I think we're going to be picking about 9.
Wait,
I think
we have
we'll
4
have a
wins?
top 10 pick.
Yeah,
I know.
Wins,
yeah, all 4. Don't even have to take your shoes off to count to that one.
We played the Chiefs 4 times this year?
Yeah, exactly. Right? That's what I'm saying. That was bad news bears right there.
Oh, my goodness.
Goodness gracious.
So, I mean...
it's been a sad year.
Okay, Booga. I mean, I know we don't like to beat a dead horse, but the season is painfully over. I mean, there's no hope. We flatlined. There's no hope for playoffs whatsoever.
We already had our service.
So I mean... Can we please fire Norv? I mean, can we please just fire him? I mean, what do we not have anybody on the coaching staff that can call offensive plays in his absence?
I could.
I get that question all the time, whether it's on the site or on Twitter, as far as, do we not have a coach that's capable of coming in there and calling plays? And I don't mean to sound rude to anybody who's asked me that, but this is the NFL. These guys have been put in these positions for a reason. Versace is the assistant head coach. Steve Fairchild helps out with quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. They've got to know the playbook inside and out, just like Norv Turner and just like Phillip Rivers. I find it impossible we don't have somebody that could be in there to take over if need be. Now, after talking with Justin a couple weeks ago, I don't know that it makes any sense to go ahead and ditch Norv until the end of the year.
Right. I mean, what good does that do you? I mean, it really doesn't. Once that final gun goes off against the Raiders and we've lost again, I can't wait for the next day's headlines. Norv is gone. I'm gonna frame it. The UT will be all over it. It's gonna be in big headlines. AJ and Norv out the door. It's going to be great. I can't wait for that freaking paper, dude. So once this season's over, I can't wait to boot them out. I'm going to drive them to the airport, but you can't because Norv lives here in San Diego.
So I don't care who answers this question, but we have a fan question since we're talking Chargers, and we might not get to it by the end of the night. We have a fan that follows us from London, believe it or not, at Hurley Worley. That's HurleyWurleyy. And he wants to know, do you think Dean Spanos will fire AJ during the season. And here's my thing. There's a couple teams that already have fired their GMs but still maintain their coaches. You know, if he's going to do it,
Carolina,
why not now? I mean, I don't know. What's
your take on it for coaching, firing your coach mid-season?
Firing coach,
GM.
Okay, coach or GM, guys. Even at the end of the season,
my
serious
thought
question.
on the whole thing is I'm nervous that they're not going to fire AJ at all. I'm going to just throw that out there. I'm afraid that they're going to bring him back. I know, I'm serious. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but him and Dean are pretty tight. There's, in my opinion, if for no other reason, the Chargers need to change it, both general manager and obviously head coach, for the sake of change. But I don't know that he's going to do that.
What do you think, Steve?
I don't think he's going to do it either. Who do you go out and get?
Yeah.
Who's available?
Right.
Who's going to run your franchise? I actually, tell you the truth, I don't think he gets rid of Norv either.
Wow.
I really don't.
I think Norv is gone. I think Norv is gone for sure. I really do. But I have a strong feeling AJ's staying.
Who's coming in to work with Rivers and Rivers' ego? You see how Rivers is on the sideline? I mean, but I'll tell you what, Norv and Rivers, the last 2 seasons accepted, they have a connection. You know,
they do.
You think anyone's gonna go to Robert Kraft in New England and say, "Hey, man, you gotta get rid of Brady"?
Yeah.
You know, and what do you think the head coach is gonna say about that? And if you go to Brady, yeah, I mean, there's connections on teams, dude, and they're not gonna get rid of They're not gonna get rid of Norv without Rivers being okay with that. Or who are you gonna get? You think you're gonna go out and get a guy like Gruden? The guy just signed a contract with ESPN. Right. You know, hosting Monday Night Football, getting like $5 million a year.
Yeah.
Him and Cowher aren't coming back. I've pretty much put that in my back pocket. They're not coming back.
Yeah, those rumor mills.
They're too comfortable.
I mean, now he's
money.
linked with the Raiders. It's like, come on, you can go back to the Raiders for what? That's a crappy franchise. I mean, why would you go
Gruden?
there? Yeah, the rumor mill is swirling right now. He's interested in the Raider job.
Yeah.
You got any final thoughts here? As far
just
as
real quick about the Bengals game, you guys talked about what the difference is now and how I think Steve-O had said how we used to close out games. The lack of halftime adjustments in the last 3 years have been pathetic.
Yeah.
The last drive where we had a chance, at the very end there, number one, play calling should not have been to where we're trying to get the whole chunk at once. It's 4-down territory.
Yeah.
Get 3 to 4 a play and try to do something as opposed to slinging it up. Yeah. Gates was wide open on that 4th down play in the middle of the field. We've seen those two connect like that 100 times.
Why'd we go 4 to the end zone? We still had room to get a first down and give us our chance.
I was wondering the same thing. You had a first down inside the 8-yard line.
It's just irritating.
Al, just to make sure every single one of us would lose some sleep and come that much closer to our next heart attack or stroke, I guess. I'm not sure.
It just sucks, man. Gray hairs are coming quickly.
All right, Booga. Well, we got a couple weeks, buddy, and you're going to be sitting right here next to us.
Yes, and there's no need for anyone to hide under the table. I'm very excited.
I'll be hiding under the table, bro. You just do your own segment. We're going to have the Booga P segment.
Nice.
Guys, thanks a lot. Awesome to have you. Bolt up. Thanks to all the people that we tweeted out to tonight to join the show, and appreciate call-ins and all that. I'll see you guys soon, and talk to you later.
All right, man.
Bro. All right, Booga.
Yeah, and if you guys want to follow Booga, it's at Booga P, of course, and that's on Twitter.
BoltBeat.com. He is a writer for them, so check out the site, read what he has to say, man. The guy's very knowledgeable. Yep. He'll be with us December 14th. We're going to do a Friday show.
As well as a Tuesday show.
As well as our normal Tuesday show. But Friday, Booga P is going to be stepping in with us, and he's going to take a stab at it.
Right on. Yeah, it'll be fun to have him here.
So, want to jump into Steve-O's got a little fantasy football segment that he has thrown together for us. So we're going to turn it over to Steve-O here and
keep it real little here.
Right.
So on the topic of Chargers, guys, let's talk about some Chargers skill players that you may or may not probably shouldn't have on your fantasy roster. Rivers. Super bust.
I
think guys are taking him in like the 3rd or 4th round of the draft this year, thinking, hey, Rivers is one of those 3rd, 4th quarter guys that can throw up at least some garbage time points and maybe keep him in the game.
Right.
Definitely hasn't been produced on that all year.
No.
Gates, I think, is the biggest bust as far as the Charger goes all year.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, how much hype was there preseason talking about Gates is the healthiest he's ever been?
Yes, we touched on that.
He's running like a little puppy.
Oh, like a gazelle,
on the field,
yeah.
You know,
that was all the hype, man.
Yeah, and you know, he hasn't produced on
Nothing.
any of that hype. Ryan Matthews.
Oh man.
He was kind of he was a little skeptical pre-draft anyways because he did get injured in preseason, so you know he was going to miss a few games. If you got value on him, like in the late rounds, he might have produced for you here and there. But as far as fantasy purposes, let's go ahead and explain to some of your viewers in case they don't know what we're talking about with fantasy football. Josh and Justin here talk about real football, real sports all the time. Fantasy football is something completely different. So when we're talking stats of guys, I'm going to talk about key players that are on teams that are on losing teams that don't necessarily bring the wins, but they're going to bring wins to your fantasy team because it's all about stats, it's all about yards, it's all about
he's catching. Yeah.
You know, so fantasy football is one of definitely probably one of the biggest
industries
online
right now,
games to play right now.
Right.
It's at most
everybody's playing it. Girls are playing it. Grandparents are playing it.
And it's so big that they're trying to figure out what they need to do in the stadiums to regain some of those people because you know they're so in tune to fantasy football. They're talking about putting screens up that people can go like to the section of the stadium and check out their fantasy
score.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So I mean,
it'll evolve to that.
It's a huge evolution.
Right. Well, in the last 25 years of fantasy football, I don't think they've brought so many people that had no interest in professional football at all into the game.
Yeah.
Because if you were to ask me about football 10 years ago, I could tell you all about the Chargers. That's all I cared about.
Right.
And today, I mean, yes, of course I care about my home team, the Chargers. However,
but now you know what's going on.
I mean,
in every team.
It really broadens your
level of
knowledge
yeah.
of the whole game in general.
Right.
So
And players in general. I mean, players that you wouldn't think of that you would want on your team because you had no clue who they were. You were so tunnel vision on the Chargers that who's Steve Smith?
See, and you see that a lot too in local drafts. You'll see a lot of guys that really don't know how to play fantasy football.
They just want to go with the homers,
and they want their Chargers.
They go with their homers.
Ryan Matthews, cool, and then you got Phillip, and you just named all these guys. Nothing going on with them this year.
So unfortunately, I mean, I don't think there's actually a highlight on the Chargers as far as fantasy goes.
I can point out one guy that's helped me out a little bit this year. Malcolm Floyd has.
Really?
Malcolm Floyd has got me 10 to 12 points here and there when I really needed him the most.
Right.
They haven't been big numbers. He hasn't put up the year he had with Vincent Jackson. Remember that? He's crazy touchdowns. But yeah, I can give a little thumbs up to Malcolm Floyd this year. He's helped me out in a lot of key situations. Not the big home run hitter, but has helped me out a little bit.
There's a few guys.
He hasn't been a bust.
I mean, Floyd's come through here and there. He's definitely not a PPR guy. When we use the term PPR, it means point per reception.
Right.
There's a few different ways to have your settings on fantasy. And some guys just go with the standard scoring. It's just, you get points based on yardage and touchdowns.
Boring.
It's very boring. And if you don't have one of the studs off the top 10 list, you're pretty much not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're screwed.
PPR adds a different aspect to the game. It kind of spreads out the scoring. It makes, there's definitely a lot more opportunities to score.
Makes those number 2 wide receivers a little more valuable.
Exactly. Yes, actually, that leads me in a good point, Josh. Number 2s. Let's talk about Arizona Cardinals.
Right.
You got who's the number 1 in Arizona?
Larry Fitzgerald.
What has he done this year?
Not as much as he should have.
Nothing. Leading receiver on the team in fantasy points is Andre Roberts.
Right.
Okay. We can talk about the Green Bay Packers. Who was your number 2 pick in the draft this year, Justin?
Jordy Nelson.
I got Jordy Nelson as well.
Jordy Nelson's. Okay. Let's talk about what Jordy Nelson did in 2011. It was spectacular, right? Okay, Jordy Nelson was a wide receiver 2 behind Greg Jennings with Aaron Rodgers just pumping that ball to his throat, right? Okay, so Jennings is the guy on the field that everyone's looking at.
He's the Vincent Jackson of the team. Yep.
Jordy comes out of nowhere. Okay, has a huge year, 15 TDs and 1,500 yards, 1,300 yards.
Right.
Huge year. What's happened to Jordy this year?
His production has gone way down.
Okay.
He's had games where you go. 5 points?
What was the receiver that had a big game for them this weekend?
Cobb or James Jones.
James Jones.
Yeah.
So I have James Jones and Jordy Nelson both on my team. and I went with Jordy Nelson because he was going to be healthy.
And Jones sitting your bench.
Jones is on my bench, and he got me something like 18 points.
And that's the point he's sitting here he's making, because it's your starter, right, Steve-O? I mean, you're so focused on the starter, and even with a healthy starter in there, a perennial type guy, all-star guy, they're focused on double covering him.
Not always. All depends on where they're lining up. There also, you got a situation in Minnesota, Percy Harvin.
Right.
Percy Harvin's his most productive games in Minnesota came when Randy Moss was out on the field with them.
Mm-hmm.
However, this year's he's been an exception to the rule because line up in the slot or on the outside, Percy Harvin's just a beast.
Or in the backfield.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's an example of the guy. You put the ball in his hands, he's going to be dangerous. I wanted to talk real quick. Just step back into you were talking about Malcolm Floyd delivering for you.
Right.
But not as good as when he had Vincent Jackson.
No,
there,
not
right?
at all.
So that's another example of Floyd being the guy that's the number one.
Right.
That's just not putting up the numbers anymore. And so in fantasy purposes,
right.
know, and
fantasy world.
And actually in real life, he's not winning games for us either.
No.
So
no, you're right.
I mean, this has been a crazy fantasy football year.
Right.
Lot of regular season blunders.
Oh.
I mean, injuries have just
I'd like to forget this year.
Crazy
injuries. Been crazy. I mean, I feel sorry for anyone that drafted MJD early, thinking that he's going to come out of and come off of his what was he?
Oh, he had an all-star campaign.
No, he was sitting off of He was sitting out for contract disputes.
Yeah, the training camp.
Right.
It was
missed all the training
negotiations.
camp.
Yep.
I mean, the guy like MGD doesn't really need training camp.
Right.
He comes in, he has like a few semi-decent games,
Right.
one
Then
really
gets hurt.
blow-up game,
Mm-hmm.
then gets hurt with a foot injury, and we just found out like a week and a half ago it happened to be the Liz Frank one that put Matt Schaub out for the rest of the season. He missed 7 games last year because of a Liz Frank injury.
Right.
Why that wasn't said to fantasy owners 7 weeks ago when we're all sitting them on our bench, because MJD ain't coming back.
And you're spending big money to play in your leagues.
Right.
Yeah, it sucks, man.
You got injuries. Gronkowski. Oh my gosh, he started off slow and then he turned into Mega Gronk and just started killing it.
And now he's hurting.
Well, him and Hernandez have been bouncing back and forth off the field.
Right. Luckily, New England doesn't really need any more targets or threats downfield anyway.
Edelman just
not
went
when
on
they're
IR
putting
too.
up 59 points.
Right. Charger Matthews starts off slow, comes in, and he really hasn't put up anything more than that 3.5 yard per carry average.
Right.
He's I think it's time to call a square.
Right.
Matthews is just a very average back. He's not. He wasn't worth the jump up in the first round to go and get him. He's definitely not a LaDainian Tomlinson. He's not a boom or bust player. He's just a very average player.
Guy.
I don't think there's anything in him that he can actually break that 80-yard TD run like Adrian Peterson's done 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I think
I would agree with that. I mean, times that I've seen him break out, he has been caught.
Yeah, I think he was more benefited when he had Tolbert there, because those two guys fed off each other. They were, the bowling ball and the outside runner. You would give the ball, you do long stretch plays to Matthews on the outskirts. And then you'd give the ball right back to Tolbert. I mean, they fed off each other. He doesn't have anybody to feed off this year. It's just all him.
No, LeRon McClain is a blocker, period.
Yeah, he's just a fullback. I mean, it's like you said. I mean, it's one or the other. Some teams you get a lot of hype with one guy, and it could turn out the other guy's the stud, the backup, the second guy. And it's all hit or miss. You have no idea in fantasy football.
What's funny, sometimes if you throw a different face in there, it has like a different effect. Like there was a couple games Jackie Battle actually put up really good fantasy stats.
Yeah. And everybody's picking up him like
Rosario
crazy.
stepped in for Gates and had a great game.
Actually, I really like Rosario as a play this week because he is now, I think, solidified himself as the number 2 receiver here on the Chargers.
Right.
Behind Floyd, and he's getting all the targets. He's putting up the big plays.
Rosario is?
Not Dante Rosario, Alexander.
Alexander.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Ronnie Brown.
PPR.
In a PPR league, he's gold. I mean, he's not gold, but you figure
he's close to
46 catches on the season.
And
that's
crazy. Those are stats. I mean, there's a lot of receivers, teams number 1 that don't have 46 receptions on the year. So it's just another example of how it differs from real life games to fantasy and where value is.
Like you're saying, value is not so much in the real life, but in your fantasy team.
Every time you touch that ball, you're getting a point.
Yeah,
every time.
Exactly.
You got to keep that in consideration.
Another topic too is based on it's playoff time.
Yes.
Okay.
Most leagues is playoff time.
Most leagues.
Not for me.
Regular season's over.
Not
yet
for me. I got 4 wins in 2 leagues, and I got 2 wins in another league. I'm out.
Yeah. Okay. I made playoffs in 3 of my leagues. Interesting time here. So you're looking at your roster. Most times you're not going to make any huge changes, but there are some guys out there, and if they're still available on your waiver wire, you need to go make a move.
Right.
One guy, Bryce Brown. Running back out of Philadelphia.
Up in 2 of my leagues.
Yep.
He's huge. Mm-hmm. This kid.
He's a beast.
Beast mode.
Oh my God.
I mean,
hashtag.
Yeah.
What was
hashtag
it?
Beast mode.
Hashtag beast mode.
He's had some injury issues, but he's really come on strong this season.
I don't know where this
Sean
kid came from and how he got the hops like he does. He can cut on a dime just like McCoy, and he's very patient. He's actually he reminds me a lot of Arian Foster. If you watch this Bryce Brown kid run, if you watch some of the highlight reels of last week, he's very slow behind his fullback or his lead blocker. And he really takes his time and waits for something to open up. And if it doesn't, he's just like a McCoy, and it will cut back cross field and burn him on the sideline. Bryce Brown is a stud.
Right.
Even if McCoy comes back, which I have a hard time thinking they're going to push him back onto the field this week. I just don't see it.
Right.
Even if McCoy comes back, Bryce Brown has still earned enough respect now to get those touches during the game, so he's going to be valuable. So if Bryce Brown's available in your league, that's somebody definitely go pick up.
Right.
Who else can they try to pick up this week that you think would be beneficial? Could be
if you had
available.
one guy to say, if live or die on this one guy for your playoff chances, who would you take
what?
this week?
I'm a huge. I love garbage time heroes. Garbage time heroes. So, for instance, a good example of that last week, the tight end for the Raiders, Brandon Myers, put up 73 yards in a TD in the final 6 minutes of the game. 73 yards in a TD from your tight end is going to be one of the top 5 tight ends in the week.
Right.
He did it in 6 minutes in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
He was able to do that because they're playing from behind, and those are things that you're going to want to look at. Getting a key player from a team that's always winning isn't really going to help your fantasy team. So if you're struggling this week on basis on some of your matchups, I really like Carson Palmer versus Denver this week. I think he's going to be playing from behind pretty much after about 5 minutes into the game. So I don't like the McFadden play this week. Marcel Reese is always a threat because he actually catches the ball really well.
Right.
So he's a good dump-off receiver. I like Fitzpatrick. For Buffalo.
Ryan Fitzpatrick for Buffalo.
He's at home facing St. Louis defense, which is definitely
he's
susceptible.
Had his spurts this year too, man.
Yeah.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I mean, he's got weapons too. Stevie Johnson, actually his best weapon and most underutilized is his tight end Scott Chandler.
Yeah,
the guy's 6'8", 260, and he's got hops almost as good as Jimmy Graham, dude. So the guy can go up there and get some balls. I like a Cam Newton play this week, and this isn't really one where Cam Newton, now this is a funny one for me to have as like one of my sleepers because most guys actually drafted Cam like in their first round. Not to name anybody here, but all right. So
I lived and died with him, bro.
Cam Newton. A lot of guys actually gave up and got rid of Cam, a few weeks ago. Made some trade bait, and if you were lucky, you actually got rid of him earlier in the season and got a little value out of Cam.
I got value out of him.
The last few weeks, Cam's actually turned it on, and I think this week at home versus Atlanta. Carolina's, in a situation where they're going to be down. It's going to be pretty competitive, but Matt Ryan's going to turn on the juice, and they're going to. So Carolina's going to be playing from behind.
But you figure Newton's going to put up some points.
It's going to be the Newton show. I think Jonathan Stewart's supposed to be coming back from injury this week, so him and D'Angelo Williams supposed to be splitting carries again, which actually means nothing because they don't put up any points at all throughout the year. The team's leading rusher is Cam Newton.
Right.
Cam Newton's going to be a sneaky play this week. So if you got him on your bench, and let's say you got a guy like a Peyton Manning, I would actually even play Newton over Manning this week, just based on the fact that Peyton's going to have to rely on his running backs to help him through the third and fourth quarter because they're going to be up. They're going to be up against Oakland.
Are you going to be doing a show next week?
If possibly. Possibly. I think I can. I'd like to definitely have a...
Because this is a whole... We're trying to get Steve-O here just acclimated to the set, and he's hanging out talking some football. We are going to get to other topics, but I definitely wanted to thank Steve-O for being on today because insight for fantasy football, dude. Everybody plays fantasy football, where it's your grandma, your parents. Everybody's involved. Usually, you got at least 10 to 20 buddies that play fantasy football. I mean, everybody wants some good news. Steve-O has some great knowledge. He's actually first in our league this year. He's a PPR guy. He knows his PPR players, and he knows what it takes to have a winning team, as it shows this year. I think, what's your record in there this year?
11-2.
11-2. I mean, he's dominating a big old money league. I came in as a rookie PPR guy, not knowing a whole lot, deer in the headlights type of guy, and I kind of went unprepared, and it definitely showed this season. So
hey, Justin, end of the year on a 5-game winning streak which is pretty commendable.
I did, but I didn't get to make the playoffs, and like I told you today on the phone, a couple decent moves during the regular 8-game losing streak, I probably would have slipped right in there. So
exactly,
and that's the hit or miss with fantasy football. It could be that one guy, it could really kill your season. So
awesome. But so again, you guys, we're hoping to turn this fantasy football segment into something that grows from here.
Definitely.
I definitely want to try to get on next week, and then as far as the 2013 season goes, let's get a show together. So if you want to talk fantasy, you want to talk your team, if you think you know more than I do, you probably do. Let's talk about it.
Right. And debate is welcome.
Fantasy freaking football. Let's do it.
There you go. It's Steve-O's fantasy freaking football segment.
Well, actually, no. I think Rock 105.3 does something like that, so I can't.
Oh, you can't do that.
What do you guys want to call it? Let me see your TDs, fantasy football.
You know what? That's a good. That's gonna be a good question for our Twitter followers. If you guys can come up with a name for Steve-O's fantasy football segment, he's gonna try to write it out the rest of the year here and do the best he can, maybe for the last 3-4 weeks, and then hit it real hard during the beginning of next season, maybe 2 weeks prior to the season. We can full blow go into fantasy football. So definitely get him acclimated, and thank you for being on the show.
You guys are awesome.
We enjoyed having you, dude.
Appreciate it, Steve-O.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
All right, buddy.
So we're going to jump into we're going to have to make this quick because we're running out of time here. We're going to do some Padre news really quick. They're at the winter meetings. And, a couple quick notes. We signed Jason Marquis as a 1-year contract to add a little depth to the starting rotation, a little bit of reliability as well. As far as the rumor mill, it's in full force right now, okay? The Padres rumored in Daisuke Matsuzaka, Ubaldo Jimenez, Justin Masterson. Mm-hmm. All these guys have the ability to be solid pitchers.
Right.
Their ERAs are a little bit on the high side. Mm-hmm. Daisuke's battling some injuries. He's a little up there in age. Ubaldo Jimenez, personally, I think is one they're really pushing for, and there's a lot of rumors about him.
Yeah, and for me, Josh, these 3 guys you just named, Masterson, Jimenez, and Matsuzaka, I'm not a fan of Jimenez at all, but I think if he did come to San Diego, I think Darren Balsley could do him world of wonder, man. Darren Balsley is one of the best pitching coaches in all of baseball.
Yep.
He's transformed some guys that you wouldn't even heard of into a great pitcher. Daisuke Matsuzaka, for me, he's same old song, same old dance. I wouldn't want him on my team. Justin Masterson, he's interesting to me. I think in a smaller ballpark, that ERA climbs down from the 5 range, and I think he's down there in the 2.5, 3 in the Petco Park. I think he's a solid young pitcher. I think he would be a great fit here in San Diego. That guy I do like.
The most intriguing number here, he's 11-15, so he's a decision maker. He either wins or loses. There's no middle ground. He either wins the game or he loses the game.
And that's what? How many games in my math is bad?
26.
26, sorry. 26 games. That's a lot of games for your bullpen. We were riddled by injuries last year. You bring in a guy with an 11-15 record, and that's not counting the no decisions he's had.
Right.
So, yeah, you bring in a guy like that, staple to the lineup or to the rotation.
So, as far as our wish list, okay, these are a couple guys that we believe or we would love to see wearing Padres jerseys this next season. A couple outfielders, a couple pitchers. First and foremost, Giancarlo Stanton. Plays for Miami, batted .290 with 37 home runs, 86 RBIs. The guy is a beast. He's a young talent.
Up-and-comer.
And he's really upset right now. His whole team just got demolished.
Dealt to Toronto.
Yeah,
and he
exploded.
And he wasn't on that flight.
No, he was not on that flight. And if we can somehow put a trade together to get him in right field here in Petco, oh my God.
Strong young kid, dude. The guy just
phenomenal.
Has massive power. 37 jacks, and that's not even in a full season, a 162 game season. 86 ribbies. He will tear Petco Park down. he will burn it down to the ground. I really wish we would make a play for this kid. I don't know what we have to offer. Would you be comfortable dealing at Chase Headley? I don't know.
We talked about it. I mean,
a Jed Jerko type of player. Who knows?
You got Jed Jerko to step up at third base. If you can, pull a trade and get Stanton in here, we may lose Headley in the process. But you got Jed Jerko to step up, and if he can put up numbers like he's putting up in AAA, 30 roughly home runs,
you can minimize the damage
80
there.
home runs, you can minimize the damage and improve your lineup.
Right,
so
definitely.
Another guy that we put in that same boat, Curtis Granderson, and this is kind of a unique one because the Yankees are willing to trade him. They want to get rid of his $15 million in payroll. This guy put up 43 home runs, 106 RBIs last year. The thing is they also need a third baseman, and A-Rod's going to be down for, they say, till July. I think it's going to be way beyond that. He's having another hip surgery on the opposite side, and it's more severe than the previous one. So is it we trade Headley out there? Is it we trade Jerko and maybe, another prospect, and then we have Headley and Granderson in the lineup, and that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, and there's a couple different ways and options you can go on that. Curtis Granderson, to me, I would trade. I hate to say it, I'd trade Headley in a heartbeat for him. I just love the way Granderson plays baseball. Now
stealing bases.
Yeah. Now, if the deal's not fair to the Padres' extent, if it's just 1-for-1, I would do it because, like you said, you got a guy in Jerko who's waiting in the wings. You definitely got to give him an opportunity in the future here. He's definitely got to play some baseball. Curtis Granderson would be an extreme upgrade in the outfield at Petco Park. Corner outfielder. Hits with power, hits for average, speedy guy. Imagine him, Maben, and Cabrera on the base path. Holy cow, that's some runs.
That's a lot of speed.
That's a run support, man.
That's a lot of speed.
And Quentin and Alonso knocking in the runs. It'd be like a merry-go-round out there. That would be a huge upgrade, Josh.
And as far as the other two people on our wish list for the pitchers mound, we got Justin Duscher from Oakland. He was 2-1 with a 2.89 ERA. He is a San Diego boy. Right. I can't pronounce that last name, so I apologize. But I think for the fact that he's a hometown boy, maybe we can persuade him to a cheaper contract. The guy's got talent. He's young. The other person, Jared Washburn. The guy's been very reliable over the years. Played with Seattle and Detroit. Had a 9-9 record with a 3.78 ERA. Another guy that I think could fit nicely in the rotation.
Definitely, and these are guys that are they're not superstars, but they're guys that, like we touched on,
very
solid guys and guys that can make their starts. We've had a lot of injury problems, and these are guys we are looking forward to looking at in the winter meetings here. So
now we're gonna step on to Aztecs, baby.
We are the show, baby.
We are the show. Okay.
I believe.
I believe that we.
That a boy.
So Aztecs win big in UCLA. Okay, we go into UCLA. We have not won there ever. There's been six games there we played in the last 75 years, and we have not won.
Right.
They've arguably dominated the California coast.
Right.
11 national championships. We go in there, dominate the crowd first of all. As you were an experience there, and you can elaborate that in a second. But we really went in there and from beginning to end, we really took a hold of the game early on, and we never gave it back to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, the Aztecs came into the Honda Center, and they pretty much matched the intensity of the UCLA Bruins. They had the crowd, for one, guys. I can't tell you the goosebumps I got, the chills that I got. It was like we were invading another country. It was that's the only best way I could put it, and we were just killing them. When we did the I Believe chant, and our student section was full to capacity, and their student section had nobody in it. There was crickets. It was 90-10 ratio Aztec fans, and I kid you not on that. Aztec support was full in gear. That being said, the Aztecs came out like it was their home. They came out, played solid basketball. They matched everything UCLA threw at them. If that was UCLA's best shot, we jabbed them right in the face and knocked them out because what UCLA brought to the table and Shabazz Muhammad and Kyle Anderson, those guys can play ball.
Big talent.
And Shabazz, it seemed like every time we'd score a bucket, Shabazz would come back and hit a big bucket. And that guy's the real deal. I'm not going to slight them at all, but Shabazz played out of his mind. I think he scored like 18 or 19 points. Very worthy of being noted there. But Jamal Franklin played like an animal. our MVP of our team and the Mountain West Conference.
Right.
Josh knows. When we get Chase Tapley going and Rayhan going at the same time, I think this team, the Aztecs, are unstoppable. I think for us, the intensity level, when those guys are running the floor and we're hitting big buckets, it just goes up a notch, and they start dominating their opponents.
Yeah, them and Deshaun Stevens on the defensive end.
Good on the glass.
Poley on the defensive end. These guys, they really strive. Defense is their key. They're ranked at least recently 13th in the nation as far as defense goes. Right. We got a call?
We got Jason on the line, wants to talk some Aztecs.
What's up, Jay?
What up, Jason?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, buddy.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, dude?
Hey, how about them Aztecs, huh?
Oh, dude, man. I can't even tell you.
I believe, baby. I believe.
6-1.
Oh, yeah, 17th in the nation.
Yes, sir, dude. How you doing tonight?
Oh, nothing. Just hanging out with the fam.
Yeah, right on, man. What'd you want to talk about, Aztecs?
Oh, yeah, well, I missed my opening earlier, but yeah, we'll talk some Aztecs basketball.
Right on, man. What did you like most about the UCLA game?
Oh, I thought that was a big win for our boys. I was actually talking to a real good friend of mine that used to live up there, and he told me how much of a powerhouse UCLA used to be, and I didn't really see it.
No, and they did though. They used to be, the best in the West. I mean, they were the team. So was anybody in the Pac-12 for that matter.
11 national championships. That's phenomenal.
They have banners, but it's just the crazy thing, Jay, was the way we went into the arena, took over the arena. It was all Aztec fans. I got chills just being in there. All the same, mojo that goes on in Viejas happened at the Honda Center, and it was cool.
That's what I was going to ask. Was it kind of like a home game for us? Or?
It was more than a home game. It was embarrassing to be a UCLA fan because every time they said something about UCLA, the whole crowd would boo them off the frickin' floor. It was so embarrassing for them, dude. I felt bad almost because these alumni were sitting in the stands and they're just going, who is San Diego State, But no, definitely a great experience, and very glad they're in the national discussion this year with a big win against UCLA.
Hey, Jason, really quick.
We got UC Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, next, right, on Thursday?
Yeah,
right.
We got UC Santa Barbara, we got USD, and then Point Loma Nazarene. Then we're off to the Hawaiian Airline Diamond Head Classic. That's what I have a question for you really quick before we got to cut this short, Jason. How do you feel that we'll fare up there at the Diamond Head Classic? I know Arizona ranked 8th in the nation. There's a chance we can meet up with them in the finals. How do you think we fare there?
Well, I think we should do pretty good as long as we play like we played in UCLA and not like we did on the Midway.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's two different contrasts. I think with more games and more, as the season goes along here, this team's just gelling more and more with the new guys. I think we meet up with Arizona in the Diamond Head Classic in Maui. I think we knock off the number 8 team in the nation, and that's what Arizona is. They're a powerhouse. But I think we can match everything that they throw at us. We went into their arena last year and beat them on their home floor, and I don't see why we can't do it on a neutral site this season.
Right.
And what were they ranked last year?
I don't think they were in the top 25 last year. They might have been. Don't quote me on that. But I think if they were, they was around the 25 range. So,
Jason.
And then, oh yeah, okay, yeah, no problem, guys. I'll talk at you later.
All right, buddy. I appreciate the call, man. Please feel free to call in. Hopefully, we'll get to Aztecs a little sooner next week. I really wanted to talk more about Aztecs, but we're kind of running out of time, guys. I want to thank Eric, Jason, Booga P from BoltBeat.com. I want to thank all you guys for chiming in your questions. We're a show for fans.
By the fans.
And let your voice be heard each and every week, Tuesday at 7 p.m. We're here for you. My name's Josh Taylor.
I'm Justin Smead.
And we're San Diego Sports Junkies. We are out, guys.
See you guys. Thanks for the support.